folks now, and welcome to another episode of the Pirate Round. Now, I be Cap'n Skultopus here, and this be the Scarlet Raven. And normally we would pour out a drink from the Cursed Crystal Skull with the Jamaican Mountain Red. However, we're going to toast our dear old friend, Captain Bartholomew Roberts, who has been deposed from his captaincy by the Badger, El Tejón, or El Badger.
Captain of the Smiling Badger.
Captain of the Smiling Badger. And we say, sorry, Captain Bartholomew Roberts, you've lost your captaincy because the vote of the new crew has brought in El Badger, or El Tejón. And we say to you now, folks, welcome to the Pirate Round. Yarhar.
Yarhar. Now, this episode will be brought to you by 7 Fathoms Beneath the Sea. This is Bartholomew Roberts' Pyrate punch made with 7 Fathoms rum.
7 Fathoms rum.
Which is, as you know, we've talked about the Bartholomew Roberts Pyrate punch is 2 shots of rum, in this case 7 Fathoms. Half a lime in each one, squeezed and twisted until you get all the juice. Sometimes a little pulp. I like the pulp. Captain does not like the pulp. We like 4 shots of Arcane Nutsons, blackberry or blueberry pomegranate juice.
True.
Fantastic juice.
Excellent.
And half of a can in each one of Canadian dry ginger ale.
Truth.
Stirred with some ice. Oh, it's so smooth.
So good. So,
this
folks,
will get knocker pretty quick.
we thank you so much for joining this episode of the Pirate Round. We appreciate your attention. Like, share, and subscribe. And we thank you so much for for your attention and watching our show. And we hope you enjoy this episode of the Pirate Round. And we say to you, welcome, folks, to all our friends who are watching, to those friends who have passed on, to those friends we've yet to meet. We say to you now, welcome. Yarhar.
Yarhar. So, we'll be bringing you another drink and some history today.
Yes, quite a bit of history.
So, as typically, you know, we do a lot of rum reviews.
Yeah.
And we kind of broke away from the rum reviews when we went back in time to fight the Viking hordes.
True.
To bring you some mead, which mead is the oldest fermented drink on the planet. And it is a drink that was probably drank by pirates and probably the nobles and everybody else because it's an age-old drink. But today we're going to bring you another drink that dates back probably almost as long. It dates all the way back to the Greco-Roman
times. It has its origin back then. And we're going to talk to you today, folks, about another drink, and this is called sherry. Sherry is a Spanish wine. It has its origins in Spain as far back as the Moorish invasion.
And further, actually, even in the Roman times.
Yeah, in the Roman times of Spain, when they would actually boil their wine to make it sweeter. And so the idea of this flavor of sweetening the wine became very popular, and they decided to have different ways to find it, and different ways to make their wine sweet. One of the ways was to boil it. Another way was to actually grow certain grapes that produce sweet wine.
Right. Now, sherry gets its name from the Moorish renaming of a Spanish port called Xerish.
Right. A town in southern Spain that eventually became named by the Spanish as Jerez de Frontera, which means the frontier town between the Spaniards and the Moors. So it was the frontier town along the border between the two areas.
And it's now heavily associated with the name Cadiz.
Cadiz, yes. Okay.
Oh,
holy crap.
There we go. Okay. So anyway, yes, Columbus and Magellan brought this over the New World. Now, the interesting thing is the amount of money they spent on sherry was more than the ships and the men.
Yeah, more than outfitting the ships.
5,994.
5,947. 500,094. 790.
594,740.
That's it. Moverdes,
which is a gold and silver coin.
A special, gold and silver coin in that part of the country.
Now that's a number after you've been drinking Madeira wine and rum and the Cursed Crystal Skull. 594,740.
It's amazing that they spent that much on actually outfitting their ships just with sherry, rather than gunpowder, shot, food,
And the ships themselves.
and the ships themselves. They considered that this was so important that they would spend almost all their money on outfitting for that rather than ropes, tar, sails, men,
clothing,
food. Which, I mean, what can you say? So, I thought, I've always heard the term sherry and I've heard the term sack. And I never knew the difference between the two. Oh, look at that.
That's cork.
And I didn't know that sack is an Old English term for Spanish wine. And sack and sherry are considered the same thing. And I remember reading several books about people drinking too much at night and waking up in the morning and saying, oh, the sack, oh, just the headache from the sack. And I'm like, the sack? What the hell are you talking about?
It's just like it's spelled, S-A-C-K, sack.
And they're talking about sherry. That's what they're talking about. So, tell that interesting anecdote about Sir Francis Drake while I pour this out.
Well, Sir Francis Drake, when he raided the Spanish Armada in, what was it, 1587?
In Cadiz.
In Cadiz, Spain, he found a bunch of sack caskets.
Well, he found 2,900 butts of sack that was sitting on the docks waiting to be transported to the New World.
Now that's equivalent to 450 liters, which is equivalent to how many gallons?
Well, it's 112 gallons in a butt, roughly. It could be more, but it's probably not less than 112 gallons.
Right, imagine.
Okay, that is essentially 324,800 gallons of sherry he found sitting on the docks in Cadiz that he grabbed and took back to England and
to
essentially,
Queen
Queen Elizabeth, and essentially addicted everyone in England to sherry. So much so that Shakespeare would put references to sherry in his plays. And Shakespeare created a character, Falstaff, who was considered to be really fond of sherry, who drank a lot of it. And essentially he even had references to sherry in his plays, where he talked about one thing or another, where he had his characters describe their love for sherry. And there is a quote, let's see, where is that? The one for...
We had this printed out here.
Here it is, right here.
So read that in your finest English accent.
This is
Or
really
you want me to do it?
No, I'll do it. He says, if I had 1,000 sons, the first humane principle I would teach them should be to forswear thin potations of all sorts, and to addict themselves to sack instead. So, in other words, leave all sorts of liquors behind, and instead drink nothing but sack or / sherry, which is the term for Spanish wine. Now, you can imagine bringing that many gallons of Spanish wine back to England, basically for free. You got it for free. Stole it from the Spanish. No wonder the Spanish hated Sir Francis Drake so much. He basically took all their sherry back to England.
Which was bound for the New World.
It was bound for the New World. And of course, Magellan and Columbus had brought sherry to the New World first, so everybody there was drinking it, probably because they couldn't drink the water, so they would drink sherry all the time. All of a sudden, that shipment is not coming to the New World. Well, instead, it's going to England. And where everybody in England is getting drunk off it and becoming addicted to it and loving it
and wanting
more. And then now we end up with the problems with King Henry VIII and Elizabeth and their love of Spanish wines, but not wanting to actually deal with the Spanish. And then we get the Armada and Sir Francis Drake burning the Armada and stealing the sherry and on and on and on. And then we end up with Shakespeare's referencing it and this idea that the English just love their sherry. And then, all the way into the modern world. And, it goes back and forth social, politically, with Napoleon invading Spain and the supply of sherry being cut off and that sort. But one really tragic thing that took place in the early 20th century is a blight that hit all the sherry grapes. And it's very difficult to pronounce, but I think it's pronounced phylloxeraria. And it was a blight that destroyed almost all the sherry grapes. And that's one of the reasons why sherry is not considered to be that popular today, is because it's just barely trying to make a comeback, because at one time there was no sherry. All the grapes were destroyed. And so it almost never, it took forever to make any kind of a comeback. And so now, even though people talk about sherry and they cook with it, I don't know if they really drink so much of it anymore as a way to enjoy wine. Now, of course, there's hundreds of thousands of different kind of wines all over the world. And then in the center, you have a little bit of sherry, and whether or not sherry is going to be either popular or not. But the historical significance of it is really interesting, and that's why we're talking about it.
Right. Now, there are typically 7 kinds of sherries. There's the fino, or fine in Spanish.
Sure.
It's the driest and palest of the traditional varieties of sherry.
Mm-hmm.
Aged in barrels under a cap of fleur yeast to prevent contact with the air. There's a manzanilla. It's a especially light variety of fine sherry made around the port of San Nuclar de Barrameda. Butchering that name, most likely. There's a Manzella Pesada, Manzella that has undergone extended aging or has been particularly oxidized, giving a richer, nuttier flavor. There is an Amontillado.
Amontillado. A cask of Amontillado. Remember that from Edgar Allan Poe. A cask of Amontillado. As he brought his friend down into the catacombs and bricked him into the room to kill him. He said, "The cask of Amontillado. The cask of Amontillado is in the alcove. You must go to get it." And as the man drank the Amontillado and became drugged, his friend bricked him up into the room and sealed him in forever.
That is a variety of sherry that is first aged under the fleur and then exposed to oxygen, producing a sherry that is darker than a fino, but lighter than a Oloroso. Naturally dry, they are sometimes sold lightly to medium sweetened, but these can no longer be labeled as Amontillado.
Amontillado.
I do not know Spanish very well. Then there's the
El Tejón.
Oloroso. It's scented in Spanish, is a variety of sherry aged oxidatively for a longer time than a fino or the other one, Amontillado. Produce a darker and richer wine with alcohol levels between 18 and 20%. Are the most alcoholic of sherries. Like the Amontillado, they're naturally dry, often sold in sweetened varieties, called cream sherry, first made in the 1860s by blending different sherries. You have the Palo Cortado, variety of sherry that's initially aged like an Amontillado, typically for 3 or 4 years, but which subsequently develops a character closer to an Oloroso. Happens to happen by accident. And then you have the Juarez Dulce, which is the sweet sherries.
Well, I wonder what this is, because this is a Solara. So an East India Solara sherry, product of Spain.
You know, I'm not really sure. Now, when I got this, it was actually when I was also getting the bottle of Madeira. And the reason I got it is I was looking at this and I saw Solara and it said sherry. They had it in the same location. And I saw on the back of this bottle, it said...
Yeah, it says here, East India cream. Lustau East India is a rich cream.
Okay, so that's probably the Oloroso.
Okay. The atmosphere of the Lustau cellar, the sacristia, is warm and humid. Conditions similar to those aboard the ships which sailed to the Americas in the 16th century, with casks of sherry lashed to their deck as ballast, acquiring an extraordinarily smooth and deep character with great complexity, reminiscent of raisins and creme brulee, served slightly chilled with puddings, especially chocolate desserts, or blue cheeses. Well, we don't have any of that, but we're drinking it the way pirates or mariners would have drank it back then,
Now,
basically room temperature.
it is dark. It is really dark.
Let's take a look. Oh man, that is. You know, it's a dark red-brown. Beautiful color.
It's got a great color. And
Beautiful,
the
rich color.
the
Oh my
smell
goodness.
is, it's almost got that meat smell that we've had before.
Mmm.
Almost like some of those berry meads that we've had.
I can smell the wine in there just slightly, but I smell the berries.
It's got a good smell.
Mm.
And a nice, that is a beautiful dark color.
It is
Almost
a
like coffee.
Yeah, that is a beautiful dark red-brown. Very mahogany, almost but
Yeah.
yet almost a like a reddish in there too.
Yes.
Oh, it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful color.
Great, great odor.
Mm.
The scent is very good.
Yeah. Mm.
You can smell the sweetness, but we haven't tasted it yet, so we don't know how sweet this is.
Well, you're hard.
Yeah, hard. Bottoms up. Down the hatch.
Very smooth, very fruity.
It's sweet, but it's not. It's not like gag you sweet.
It's a little sweeter than a Madeira, and a little fruitier,
Yes,
but also very smooth.
but also dry. It seems dry to me.
No, I don't get any dryness in there. It's moderately sweet, not overly sweet.
You can taste the wood from the cask,
A little bit, yeah.
but it's not over the top.
It's like a berry mead, very smooth,
Yeah.
totally unlike a wine. I mean, I can just barely taste a wine aspect to the grape in there.
Yeah, a lot of the wines that we typically like. We like a Moscato. We like
Yeah.
white Zinfandels.
You can taste the wine in there. You can, and this you don't taste the wine. Just a little bit. Mainly, what you taste is the fruit, and it's almost like honey, like a smoothness of honey.
I get that coffee notes to the very end, but it's not like it's mixed with coffee.
Well, it's weird because they were saying reminiscence of raisins and
Okay,
creme brulee.
yeah, I can see the raisin. I'm not a fan of raisins.
I'm not a fan of raisins either, but I guess that wine flavor would be sort of like raisins.
Oh, mine is raisins. It's grapes.
Yeah, it's grapes. I mean, but you know how you bite into a raisin and you get that metallic taste that's kind of in.
That's good. That's very good. I like that.
Yeah, a little on the sweet side. Oh, there's the dryness.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to drink enough of it to get the dryness. But you know what? When you inhale, you get the fruit.
Yes.
And a little bit of the dry.
I get the raisin.
Yeah, and then you get the raisin in there. And I hate raisins, but actually it's not that bad.
No, that's good.
Yeah,
I like that.
that is good. It's not too bad. Be really great chilled. This is room
Yes.
temperature now.
Yes.
You know, it's not overwhelming. It's not too sweet, not too dry. It's right in the middle.
Oh, that's good. I can see that as a sipper at night.
Yeah, I could too. Yeah. And the creme brulee thing, I can get that because of the sweetness
Yeah.
and the creaminess of it. Because it is, I gotta say, it's really smooth.
No, I have cooked with sherry before, but cooking sherry and drinking sherry is totally different.
Yeah. I mean, people will cook with sherry to make sauces and stuff.
Yes.
And you know, sometimes it turns out okay, and you can kind of taste it. But a lot of times, people when they cook with sherry, you know, they're trying to make a sauce or something, and they want that either a sweetness or a dryness or a bitterness or something in there that's indicative of the sherry.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, that's why we do that. You have wine, you have cooking wine, you have cooking brandy,
Right.
all sorts of things to add, you know, a unique flavor to it.
Cooking
But
marsala.
yeah, I don't tend to like dark wines, but I don't consider
Well,
this
most
really to
red
be a
wines
wine.
tend to be really kind of dry and
bitter.
bitter.
Yeah, and you know,
If
if
this
you're-
isn't so red, this is such a dark.
Yeah,
it's
it's
colored
like-
like a dark raisin.
it is. It's brown. It's a brown red, which is really strange. I mean, it's got almost the color of Coca-Cola, to be honest.
Boy,
But
does
with-
it ever?
but
Yeah,
with
you'd
more
think that
red.
was Coca-Cola or
Yeah,
Pepsi.
but with more red in there, really, it's a beautiful color.
What's the alcohol volume on this?
Well, you can smell the earthiness of that, folks. Just this rich, deep earth that's just really pleasant.
Okay,
Kind of
so
like
this is 20% alcohol.
40 proof.
No, its alcohol content is 20%.
40 proof. It's almost like a mead then. It's not like a
Yeah,
typical wine,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is like
yeah.
12%. This is a little heaped up.
And this is a product of Spain. So this is
That's sherry from
product of
Spain.
Spain.
Yeah.
And the price of this, I can't remember quite what it was. I think it was probably around $15 or $20 for this, which is not too bad.
It's not too bad.
And it was in the Madeira section.
Spanish wines area. I've always had this idea, what people have told me in reading Ernest Hemingway and stuff, that Spanish wines are hot. They burn. They're sharp. They're bitter.
This is
You
so
know,
good,
you drink them because they're so dry and they make your mouth water, and it kills it makes your mouth water like crazy, and it kills your thirst, because it's like Romans drinking vinegar. You know, when they marched, and it made them drool constantly.
Yeah, they made that vinegar wine.
Yeah, you know.
That would make them. It was almost like pickle juice.
Yeah, it made them drool constantly, so that their mouths were always wet, so they never got a dry mouth. That's what I always thought Spanish wine was, but this sherry is really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see English people getting into a bar and pouring out bottles of sack and just getting wrecked on this.
Yes.
Just getting so wrecked they couldn't even function. You know, and drinking this every day I could see, because it's so pleasant, such a pleasant drink.
And I could definitely see breaking this out with your friends and,
and
saying, hey, let's have some sack. Let's have some.
I can see this as being a very sociable drink, that you would open up a bottle with your friends, chill it, nicely, so that it's got a good, pleasant coolness to it, and pass it around, and everyone enjoys the flavor. Excuse me, the full flavor of it, and it's just a very pleasant, easy drinking wine. Good grief.
Can I drink that, Captain?
That's not from that. That's from that other stuff.
That's a good drink. I would definitely, if you've never tried it, it's something to definitely try and have around. And the history is quite fascinating with this.
Yeah, the long history with the Greeks and the Romans. And it's interesting that the Greeks and Romans would boil wine to make it sweeter. That they would actually boil it and concentrate it.
Yeah.
To make it actually, to get rid of the water and to make it more of a sweeter drink, so that so it's more palatable, instead of being just something that was just so horribly bitter all the time that they could barely drink it. It's just essentially vinegar. And that's the whole idea of sherry, is to make it sweet and palatable so that you enjoy drinking it, rather than something you just have to put up with.
Good stuff. Very good.
I could imagine this, being the drink of aristocrats and not the common folks, as being rather expensive. Common folks making do with ale, whatever kind of moonshine they could get, cheap wine that probably, was made somewhere in France or somewhere, and the aristocrats just absolutely enjoying this kind of
pirates getting hold of it.
Pirates breaking into a ship, getting hold of casks of sherry, and just guzzling it because it was so good, and finally getting something that had a taste to it, a sweetness, a fruit.
Right, and imagine being a poor sailor who's never had access to this, because it's a noble's drink.
It's expensive.
Or aristocrat,
it's imported,
or merchant class.
Mm-hmm.
Pirates were typically the poor, the sailor types, that were
downtrodden.
the downtrodden. And getting this, why would you want to go back to being, the common folk and the downtrodden?
It must have been like drinking ambrosia.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're used to drinking bilge water, crappy, moldy ale, watered down grog, horrible food, which is just basically biscuit and pork. And all of a sudden you crack open a keg.
Salted fish.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you crack open a keg and out pours this sweet, fruity wine. Well, they must have drank themselves senseless. It's such a flavor that would just be so enriching.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to stop with just
exactly.
Wine.
Yeah, you drink yourself senseless. Folks, human beings, even from time immemorial, when we were primitives living in the forest, would eat berries and enjoy sweet things. The flavor of berries, the flavor of honey. It must have been ingrained in us all those years to love those flavors. And, for the poor and downtrodden of England and Spain and France to essentially be forced to eat things that were just basically salt, mush, gunk, to finally get your hands on something.
Baragoo.
Yeah, baragoo. To finally get your hands on something that was just sweet and wonderful, it must have just been intoxicating beyond all comprehension. They must have thought it as the drink of the gods, the ambrosia of everything.
Yeah, why can't we be a noble? We'd be a pirate. We'd be our own crown.
Exactly.
And,
we are our own master.
Why would you want to take part in when you go back to garbage and you can have this?
Exactly, you could have this. And
I could fully understand, as why you'd want to be a pirate.
Yeah.
You have freedom.
Yeah.
You have good drink and good food.
Sure. A year of drinking this as opposed to a lifetime of drinking watered down moldy ale. Come on.
And no pay.
No pay. Good stuff. I love when you inhale and you can taste the cool, like the raisin and the grape and the sweet and the honeyness.
That is so good.
That's so nice.
That is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the brand we've got here.
Yeah.
Lustau.
Yep.
East India Solara Sherry. We'll post a little more information about this down below.
So, folks, we want to say thank you so much for watching this show today. We tried to bring a little bit of wine history and a bit of pirate and maritime and economic history. And I want to say to you folks, sincerely, thank you so much for watching our show. Thank you so much for sharing, and subscribing. I know there's a lot of pirate history shows out there that are different than ours, and ours aren't.
And some that are similar. I think
some that are
were,
similar.
you know, they're taking off ours, or maybe not.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And you know, ours is different. Ours is a little bit unique. We come to you now, you know,
There's two of us. We have kind of a round table.
True, from ourselves, and we say to you folks, in these troubled times, please be strong. Please take care of each other. Please be a good, responsible citizen of this world. When you go out, cover your mouth so that you're not going to...
Mouth and nose. Don't wear your mouth down here.
Exactly.
Cover your nose.
Be responsible, if not for yourself, then for those in society who are vulnerable. And be cautious, be careful.
It's not taking away your freedoms.
No, it's not at all. Be cautious, be careful, and be considerate of everyone else in society. And we say to you now, thank you so much, folks, for watching this episode of the Pirate Round. I be the Cap'n Skultopus here, and this be the Scarlet Raven. And we say to you now, be strong, be true. Don't let anyone grind you under their boot heel, because you be a pirate, and you don't have to take shite from nobody.
Always be yourself. Always be strong.
Always be a pirate. You're hard.
Smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing.